Hello viewer and welcome to Partnership. Partnership is a program that deals with the exchange of ideas, thoughts between countries. And I have in mind the Malawi and Scotland. Malawi and Scotland have been involved in research in as far as COVID-19 is involved. And with me in the studio today is a researcher named Blantyre Mazinyana. Welcome into the program.
Thank you very much. It's Mazinyani.
Mazinyani.
Yes.
Yeah. Do I have to be Ngoni to pronounce it very well? What does it mean to say Mazinyani?
Mazinyani is, I think, yes, it's a Ngoni word for little goats.
Oh.
Yes, the little goats, they're called Mazinyani.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Sure.
I'm sure you're quite aware that in the first program I talked to Eve.
Yes.
Who is our partner from Scotland.
That's correct.
And we're talking about research. I would like to zero in into this research, but giving it more like the Malawian perspective.
The domestic.
Yes.
Yes.
But let's begin by appreciating the partnership. When we talk about Malawi and Scotland partnership, what do we mean? What is in it?
Right. As the name suggests, it's a partnership. And we're talking about equal footing. Malawi has its stake, and Scotland equally has its stake. So historically, we look at our mutual history when we have the coming in of Dr. David Livingstone and the city of Blantyre being in Scotland, and Malawi also having Blantyre city here where we are.
As a sister city.
Yes, as a sister city. So from a church point of view now, Blantyre Synod has endeavored in a partnership with the Church of Scotland. And just looking at the church point of view, it's like what is common between us. And at some point I did say, can we compare Scotland and Malawi? It's quite interesting that in this partnership, yes, there is so much that has been shared in different areas, in the areas of education, in the areas of health, in the areas of politics and economics. But here we are presented with the COVID-19. So the partnership has taken further its roots to address the issue of COVID-19, but in a research.
I'm quite aware that this partnership has been extended to the varsities of Malawi, especially the University of Malawi. Can you shed more light on this?
So it pleased the Church of Scotland to endeavor in a research which, to make it authentic, it had to go through an academic institution. And in Scotland, they did engage the University of Edinburgh. So at the local context, as we're saying that it is a partnership, we also needed to engage an institution of higher learning, and the University of Malawi Chancellor College, to be specific, was engaged. So we're talking of things like the ethical approval to make sure that the research and its findings are coming from a backed academic institution. So we have the likes of Reverend Dr. Chipa, who is heading the Theological Studies Department. He's the head of department. He is the principal researcher. And alongside with him are us, other researchers. So I am not alone. There is also Reverend Yangama here in Malawi. But also we looked at the findings of the research. So we also engaged other stakeholders, the likes of yourself, who is in the team.
So I come in as a researcher as well.
Yes, you're a researcher, exactly. Forming the winning team.
Yes, from the media side.
From the media side.
Yes.
And our partners in Salima Starfish Malawi have also come in at some point that they have contributed. But mainly we're looking at the church. So the C.C.A.P. Blantyre Synod, we would say they're the hosts as well. Yeah.
Let's move on now to the research itself.
Mm.
Has it been done? Because it's been a while since we last had a program.
Oh, yes.
There's been some silence. COVID has been with us.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me what has been happening.
Actually, as much as it looked like it was silent on the surface, but we were like ducks. You know, they look like they're sailing quietly, but they're paddling hard underground.
Digging deeper.
Yes. So the team of the researchers were down on the ground, hands-on now. We're not yet ready to talk about what we found out because the process is still going on. But we would like to confirm that yes, the research has been going on. It started sometime in February, so all the issues of seeking ethical approval, the issues of identifying researchers and all the groundwork was being done. And the end date was 30th September.
Really?
So we have just said goodbye to the time frame that was allocated to the research finding, the data collection and the analysis. And now we're doing the final work. So,
yes.
Yeah, that's where we're at now.
Okay, I'm interested in the methodology. Because as you know, research can be done by so many people, but there are issues that make the research acceptable nationally or internationally. What sort of theoretical framework did you follow in coming up with this paper, this dissertation?
Right. We looked at COVID-19. So the diversity or the multisectoral approach that COVID-19 has taken, because this thing has taken us by surprise. It has affected almost every side of the human life. So when we looked at it, we felt that we could do both a qualitative and quantitative study. We didn't want just to go on the figures, on the numbers. So obviously, as a church, one highlight of the church is that we command numbers. So like Blantyre Synod alone has a population or a membership of at least 1.5 million or plus. We are covering the whole of the southern region, all the districts is Blantyre Synod, but also some parts of the central region, and especially the Cheo side. So there is already a big following in the numbers. As much as this research did not go that far, it's a small pilot study, so we had to choose a small sample size. But when the research findings will be given, you are sure to hear some numbers. Numbers of members who are in the church who have been involved. These are people from the ground, from the rural setup, but also some from the urban setup. So there is already a difference in terms of the perspectives, because there's been a lot of talk. Others have said, no, I think COVID-19 is for the elite. There's been a big speculation that it's
or maybe for the urban.
Yes, for the urban. Yeah,
or people in high echelons of power.
Other people were even saying it's about celebrities.
Yes.
Because it was numbers of celebrities who have been affected and have maybe come out in the open to say, I had it. But this research has gone down to the roots, to the ground. And you'll be sure to hear about numbers of people who have been involved in saying what their perspectives are. But also on the qualitative side, we have gone down to hear now the real stories, the real issues of people who have been involved, people who have been affected, but also people who have been infected.
The narratives.
The narratives.
Yes, yes.
But the beauty of this research is that it has not only looked at the Malawi side. As I said at the beginning, that it's a partnership. So there's been an eco-sharing, an eco-footing.
Yes.
Yeah. So the same questions that have been asked on the Malawi side have been the same research questions that have been asked on the Scotland side. And obviously in Scotland, I think there were stiffer lockdown measures, so people could not go out and conduct the
Yes,
research.
I remember the other time I talked to Eve.
Yes.
They could hardly go to a restaurant or a grocery
Everything was
to
closed
buy,
down.
items.
And their context was able to support that. So people were able to shop even from home, which was different from ours, that as much as we were equally affected by the same COVID, same infection, but we had probably much lenient lockdown measures. So there were partial lockdown measures where people were able to go to the marketplaces at certain points. People were able to do certain things with certain limitations. But then there were also similar guidelines which the World Health Organization had put down. So the issues of social distancing. Same thing in Scotland, same thing in Malawi. Putting on masks and hand washing, the hygiene issues. So the quagmire of not knowing where are we going, when is this going to be end, was equally shared, both in Scotland and for us Malawians.
So would we say that it was more like a one-size-fits-all type of scenario, or there were some differences or disparities?
That's a very
even though the questions were the same.
That's a very deep question. That's a very big question, but also good question also, because we can't say one size fit all. I do recall that during the research, the team of researchers, I didn't even make mention that there were some students from the University of Malawi Chancellor College who were data collectors, who were able to go out in the ground, and they were able to invite people and interview them. While Eve in Scotland was on the phone.
On the phone?
On the phone.
She could not go physically?
She could not go physically out.
Or either virtually?
Yes.
Virtually.
And she did not have a team of researchers. She was kind of doing it single-handedly, as much as
solely.
She had a team with her in Scotland. There are also other people from the University of Edinburgh and the Church of Scotland, but it was different. So as much as the research was the same in terms of the questions, in terms of the time frame that was given for the research to be done, but in terms of the actual doing on the ground was contextualized.
even though I wouldn't go deep, but I'm interested to know a little bit about the randomization, or how you got the data, and how you made sure that the people you selected were picked at random, you know, all those nitty-gritties of research as research demands.
Oh, yeah. Interestingly, because we had the University of Malawi, we had an academic institution and highly qualified people taking the lead. They were able to guide the team and the process. So issues of course, I talked about the ethical approval, but also issues of confidentiality. So all that was followed as much as we went to the church. So I am bringing that as an interesting thought, because you would think, oh, then you went spiritual. Would an academic study fit in the spiritual
realm,
context?
or spiritual context?
Yes, it did. We managed to get a selection of church members. So we had an age limit, obviously, observing that we could not interview children. So all the respondents were between the age of 18 going up. And we were able to also categorize it. So those that were within the age bracket of 18 plus, within the teenage or young adult, there were also certain kind of responses that they were giving in terms of how they have been affected, or how have they viewed COVID-19. But also we had the middle age category, whereby most of these people in the church are much more settled. So the younger people, you'd find that they in the church, but you know, probably hopping between one church to another. But then there are those that are more settled and taking up leadership positions in the church. And they were the ones that kind of had the face-to-face with COVID, because the reinforcement of the measures were resting on the church leadership. So the issues of like Holy Communion, administration, baptism, you do, maybe, I don't know whether you know that, but the C.C.A.P church, the Blantyre Synod, and I think the Nkoma Synod and Livingstonia Synod as well, did give out press releases on what church could do and what church could not do. Especially at that time when we realized that many people who were affected or infected through church practices. So laying of hands, you know, such kind of things, or administering, baptism. Yes, baptism, administering of Holy Communion, where you share the cup.
Which is indeed communal.
Yes, such kind of things.
All right, what lessons would you say you have learned from both parties or partners, in brief?
A lot, a ton. I wish we had more time to just talk about the intercultural relationship between the North and the South, the diversity in the culture. So as much as we try to focus on saying we are partnership, but immediately the issue of receive and give, who's
Take
the receiver? Yes, who's the receiver and who's the giver? The expectations.
Other than the win-win type of situation.
The reciprocal kind of relationship that exists between Scotland and Malawi. So I think in the coming times we'll be able to expand on how some people have viewed partnership. And it could be, you know, from the basic
we'll
of...
have to redefine partnership.
Yes.
Based on the COVID-19 scenario.
Man and man relationship.
Yes.
The moment you are presented with a partnership, already the other one thinks, oh, this one is going to receive from me, or this one is going to give me. So this research study has taught us a lot in terms of how we view each other. And I think going forward, we should take personal time to look at our own relationships from a marriage point of view, you know, partnership. There is a partnership. Who gives, who receives.
Partnership starts from the home.
Yes.
And then it extends to other sort of groupings.
Charity begins at home.
Like macro and the micro.
Yes. So the parent-child relationship, who is the giver and who is the receiver? Can a child receive or can a child give? And when we start blowing it to the macro, as you've said, then we look immediately at our neighborhood, and we look at our extended family. We look at, you know, employer, employee, then business partnerships, and then at national level, diplomatic relationships that we have in the church. So I think it's a thinking point, especially in the face of COVID-19.
Finally, when will the results be out officially? I know they are out, but officially.
That's a big question because there are many players in this.
Yes.
But
and
soon.
Stages too.
Yes. It's soon, yeah, because we will need to publish it, and we've already identified publishing houses that are going to be showing what we found out. But I'm sure that our audience, yeah, here will be also keen to hear. So, yeah, I would say be on the watch.
Lindilabe, it's been a pleasure having you in Partnership, Part 2. And I hope when the results are out, you come back on MBC TV to share with us so that we appreciate what Malawi is doing in terms of research. So that's it, the viewer. We're talking about partnership between Malawi and the Church of Scotland in as far as research amidst COVID-19. I hope you grasp an idea or two. Bye for now.